Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Beginnings, the 2009 movie. This is my first time watching this movie after boycotting it for a long time, and man, it was actually really good. It was solid. I wish I never boycotted it now. The reason why I boycotted this movie is because I really liked the first two live action movies made by James Gunn. And so when I heard they was making the third one, I saw the trailer and I'm all like, wait, Cartoon Network's making it now? And then I'm all like, who these people? And then I'm all like, oh, Scooby-Doo was terrible in that movie. So I just boycotted it and I never watched it. And all these years later, and because of now Velma, I've been watching a lot of other Scooby-Doo stuff on HBO Max. And just like with Mystery Incorporated, this movie is actually really cool and everything. I was shocked and surprised at how like formalized it was and how focused it was on actually telling a story. Another thing I was very surprised about is how all the characters, except for Fred, looks like they do in like the cartoon. Like the new people are Kate Melton. She plays Daphne. She looks identical to Daphne. Now they changed her personality a bit. She's still that rich girl. That's something that's been keeping for like a lot of different incarnations. I'm not sure if it was in the original one, but I know it started with a pup named Scooby-Doo, and it's just she's been the rich girl ever since. But here she's also a theater major, and she's pretty cool as like Daphne. She does everything you would probably expect Daphne to do, be nice and stuff like that, like Fred. Only thing is she doesn't get captured. She's no damsel in distress, and she doesn't fall down in like traps and stuff. However, they did take one thing from the Sarah Michelle Gellar one, and that's when she thought she saw the bad guy, and she tried to like karate kick it and everything with the one of those hee-yah type thing. I hate when people say that. I just feel so like offended when people say that crap. And so like I'm just like, don't take from like the other live action movie. Be your own thing. But she was great as Daphne. Ironically, like this really sucks because she hasn't gotten much work since then. And not only that, but now she's like a coach teaching people how that. In fact, a lot of people, or her and the Shaggy dude, don't get much work, but they was like really good in this. Haley Kiyoko, she plays the new Velma. And she reminds me a little bit of the one from like the first two live action movies. And yes, she's half white and she's half Japanese. So we've had a race bent Velma before, but nobody like said anything, got all like up in arms like they are doing now and stuff. And she plays a really, really, really good nerdy version of Velma. Very Steve Urkel-ish and everything. I like both hers and I like both Linda Carlini's from like, the other movies and stuff. And she's just as smart in this. And of course her glasses fall off. She's like, oh my glasses. I love that line so much. But then there's one thing in the movie don't make no sense is like, when she got like they gave her the hot girl makeover just like in the first two movies, and so she doesn't have glasses but yet she can still see, so that's kind of weird. Nick Pilatus, he plays Shaggy. Man, this dude was awesome. Actually, he has a lot more to say in dude than like all the other characters and stuff. And this man, his hair looks more like Shaggy's hair than Matthew Lillard's. That's one thing about Matthew Lillard's hair I never liked. His hair was just long and shaggy, but this dude's hair is poofy and shaggy like it's supposed to be from the old cartoons. His voice isn't as like Casey Kasem's type voice like Matthews is, but it's still a close like replica of it, impersonation. He did an amazing job as Shaggy, man. He was just great. My only problem is he doesn't wear that much green here. Like they do wear their traditional outfits when you first see them. And then throughout the rest of the movie, they just wear modified versions of like their classic outfits. But he's the only one who like mixes up the colors and stuff. He only wears green like once or twice in the entire movie. But this dude was amazing. Scooby-Doo was voiced by Frank Walker, the dude who voices Fred in all the cartoons. He also voices a lot of the Scooby-Doos in the newer cartoons. I still hate the design. This is what, like, it could give you nightmares. That's how bad the design is. It makes me want to throw up. Like, my eyes and mouth just want to throw up when I look at this design. However, he acts more like Scooby-Doo than the one from the James Gunn movie. Also, he's the right color. One of the things I've noticed about the James Gunn one was that he was light brown, but in this one he's very dark. But his face-wise is a combination of the James Gunn one and the classic cartoon, so it's not quite like right. And he looks a bit somewhat on the small side, but he does act a lot more like Scooby-Doo than the one in the other movie. Problem is, he acts way too animated. And it's at the point where every time he's on screen, I'm just like, God, get him off screen. But it was a TV movie from Cartoon Network, but still, man, like they just get like a regular dog and have a regular dog do regular dog stuff. And then there's Robbie Amell as Fred, which is the only person I don't like. I don't like how he has dark hair because Robbie refused to dye it blonde. I mean, if Freddie Prinze Jr. can dye his hair blonde, so can you, dude. And not only that, but he doesn't act like Fred. Like, he says some of Fred's line, like, let's split up, gang, and stuff like that. But he never acts like Fred, really. And, you know, he's just a nice jock. Like, that's all he is. But plus, I've never really been a fan of his acting. I don't know how he still gets roles, but I just never been a fan of his acting. Ever since I saw him in True Jackson, I just never been a fan of his acting. And, like, you know, yeah. But this movie is a prequel, an origin story about how they all met. And then, you know, that can sometimes be a bit tricky at times, because I remember a pup named Scooby-Doo. It was somewhat of an origin prequel type thing, but it didn't show how they formed and everything. They were already kids doing the whole mystery stuff. And it was a very wacky 90s cartoon. But here, the structure in the writing pays very good homage to what Scooby-Doo is. Them looking for clues, them riding around a mystery van, them like assuming somebody else is like, you know, the ghostly bad person type thing. Them using their catchphrases. It never felt cheesy when they used their catchphrases. Sadly, I can't say the same about the James Gunn actors. When they used the catchphrases, it seemed kind of cheesy almost. Also, another great thing about this movie is that anybody can watch this movie. The one bad thing about the James Gunn movies is, just like with all the James Gunn other stuff, there are tons of sexual innuendos, and like there are tons of meta references to like Shaggy potentially being stoned, or Fred always wanting to get with Daphne and stuff like that. Here it's just like the cartoon, but in actual live action. And I really like that, you know. Because sometimes it depends on what your medium is. You don't want to go too far over that cliff, you know what I'm saying? Unless you really want it to be like a Riverdale type thing, then that's be like, okay, not that Velma thing. And, you know, the pacing was great. How they met up was great, because it wasn't just them, like, you know, it's kind of Breakfast Clubby, you know. It's like, first they all meet on the bus, but they never talk to each other. Shaggy gets picked on, and you know Fred doesn't really like that. Then they all meet up in like a really weird kind of musical chairs kind of way, and then when they're at school, something of course bad happens, and that when they do like the whole Breakfast Club thing when they have detention. And so then they get framed for something that bad happens at school. And this is what causes them to try to prove their innocence. So much better than what the Velma thing did. And so they have to prove their innocence. So when they have to meet up and, you know, plan stuff out, Shaggy's all like, oh, you know, both my parents, they work, and, you know, stuff like that. And we can just hang out in my basement and stuff like that. He invents the Scooby snacks. It's great. Velma is very smart in this. Like, she's highly intelligent. Shaggy is kind of like the coward, but kind of like the nice guy who, like, like the buddy to everybody and stuff. And when he meets Scooby Doo for the first time, they instantly bond. See, Scooby Doo was just a regular pet, and they were trying to, like, kind of like, auction him off or have somebody like adopt him type thing. But nobody wants him because he's so rambunctious and very happy and stuff. And so when he falls out the cart in the back of the truck, he finds his way to like a cemetery where lightning hits down and these two ghosts come out the cemetery. Now, the monsters in this, it's both the like a monstery ghosty type thing and a person in a cartoon. The not a cartoon costume. The person in the costume is controlling the ghost. The ghosts are lame. The ghosts are very, 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 very lame. The CGI is okay, but the way they fly is terrible. They're just there. They never scare you, but of course they scare the characters. But the ghosts are so lame in this thing. And so, like, he meets Shaggy for the first time and they instantly bond and it feels natural. When they all meet up for the first time and become friends, it feels natural. And that's the thing you want. You never want it to feel forced. When it's forced, then it's kind of like irritating and you're expecting it. And just like any good Scooby Doo movie or like cartoon episode, you have to guess who the person behind the mask is. And this person is looking for like a time capsule and everything that's hidden underneath ground. So in classic Scooby-Doo form, he wants everybody to stay away from the school and then he wants to get like the time capsule thing. And so like I love that because it's like the classic, but in the updated modern way. And then they keep in the homage stuff, you know what I'm saying? And they're not going too far off that cliff and doing something completely different. And so like you assume you think you know who the person in the mask is because of the body shape, and there's a red herring. There's like a person who's so you know what I'm saying? You think that person is like the person in the mask. And I love that whole red herring thing because that reminds me of a pup named Scooby Doo when they would literally have tons of red herrings. And so with them all like, well, hold up. In the WB The Batman cartoon from the early 2000s, Batman said, like, the answer to a riddle is not the most obvious one. And so I'm all like, okay, so it can't be this person. And then it ends up being the nice, dorky dude and everything. I'm all like, okay, I figured it was him because, he's so nice and nerdy and gullible and stuff like that. And, so he wanted the stupid time capsule, but he wanted it for a dummy. The reason why he wants the time capsule is because of stamps. If there's an error in a stamp, it's like more valuable or some crap like that because he has a stamp collection. It's really stupid. I kind of wish that part, like, the villains, I just wish the villains had a better, like, stronger writing and stuff. I wish they had a better motive. I wish the ghosts were better. I wish the dude on the costume was better. That's the part that was kind of like, really? That's kind of lame, you know what I'm saying? And so they do everything mostly do in Scooby Doo. They do like the trap thing, but one thing they don't do is kind of like when they run into one room, open the door and run into a room, they come out the complete opposite side. They don't do this here because it would be very unrealistic and everything. I like the way how like they got their mystery van. It turns out that Shaggy is the one driving the van because he's been held back twice and he's the only one with a license, but he doesn't know how to drive that well. It's kind of cool to see Shaggy being the one to drive because that's never happened in the cartoon. And the person who gives them the van is actually Daphne. And the reason for that, because I like how everybody has something to do in this. And so Daphne gave them the van because her dad bought it for her. And she said, just because we're rich don't mean he's not going to buy me something like this. You know what I'm saying? And so like, That was cool, but it doesn't look like the van at first. But then towards the end of like the movie, there's like a montage where they're fixing the van up, and it looks like the traditional mystery van. And then they like running from like a monster and cartoon type wise and stuff like that. And it was just like a nice little ending for the next movie, which I have never seen yet. I'm a little worried because after that second movie, they stopped making these live action Scooby Doo movies, and I wonder why. Now, at that time, a lot of people weren't feeling these movies because they wanted the James Gunn version. But, this one, like I said before, is really solid and everything. And people should really give this like a try because I was like I said before, I was very weary of it, but I'm so glad I watched it. Now, it's not as colorful and vibrant as like the James Gunn movies. It doesn't have all that great music like the James Gunn movies. The CGI isn't all that great, but one interesting thing I find really cool. The best parts of the movie is when the mystery gang are just interacting with each other, and they do that for the entire movie. Scooby's not really in it that much because he costs a lot of money to make. The ghosts aren't in it that much. The bad guys not in it that much. But their interaction when they just talking to each other is some of the coolest stuff ever, and it's just really pleasant to watch. And so I'm really glad I watched this movie. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.